Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Brand new.
Hey, we're talking brand new Joe. Hey, we're on a brand new show. Deep dives, blow by blow. Spotting Uzis and crossbow. Like a buzzball or pogo. Got ninjas like Don Shadow. Comics are how I spend my dough. We're coming to you in stereo. It's time for Talking Joe. With Mark and Tim, here we go.
Brand new.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and you are watching and or listening to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. Now, today we are coming to you once again from the far reaches of the Energon Universe and also my study, where we will be talking about G.I. Joe issue number 25, just released this week, Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, the distant future. Now, this issue promised to deliver to us in the form of an official synopsis this new story arc. It had to happen. G.I. Joe versus Nightforce. Everything has been leading to this extra-sized landmark issue as Joe's Battle Joe, friends become enemies, and the chart-topping team of Joshua Williamson and Tom Reilly and Andrea Milana kick off the biggest G.I. Joe story in Energon Universe history. Now, did the issue deliver? Joining me to discuss it is none other than a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, listeners, viewers. Comic book I'm holding in my left hand. Hello, comic book.
Hello. And as at the time of streaming, we are live. So if you are watching us live, feel free to join in at opportune times, like Michael Jean Fleming, who says, "Good afternoon, y'all." And Shane Simic, Joe versus Talking Joe. I don't think that sounds very combative. I don't think we're in... I don't think we're against this comic. I think we're working with it. And Johnny B76, hey guys, greetings from Ireland. So lots to cover, so we can probably just jump on into it. Now, the first thing that I was going to cover was a bit of a any other business left over from last time, where we covered G.I. Joe issue number 24. So I reached out to Andrea Milana with some questions to discuss that particular issue. And here is what Andrea said. So with his Crystal Ball arc complete, I sent him some questions via email. He was too busy to record a full interview with us, but did kindly answer some of my burning questions by email. So question number one, for contestant number one. Did you have any particular inspirations in mind when doing this issue? And he said, shall I do an accent? Let's find out. I collected a bunch of references for abandoned cities in the Balkans and kept them close by to try to capture that mood. But when you actually sit down to draw, you never have much time to work on it, so I don't think I managed to convey the idea I had in mind. Question number two, also to contestant number one. What was your reaction to the shocking ending when you read it? Unfortunately, this accent's getting a bit more aggressive as I go on. Unfortunately, I found out the ending of issue 24 before I started reading the script, so it was a little bit of an anticlimax. It was still a huge surprise, though. I could never have expected an ending like that. Then we said Risk gets a nasty slice from Crystal Ball's sword in issue number 24, but then he's okay afterwards. Is it just that his body armor protected him? Yeah, it was the bulletproof vest that protected Risk. Maybe the colors hid it a little. Maybe I should have chosen a different angle to show it better. What did you enjoy? What did you enjoy drawing the most, and what did you like the least? What did I like drawing the least? I don't really have to answer this question. This is getting even more stereotypically Italian as I go on. Generally, things I'm not used to drawing. I like to study them. This is getting offensive, Mark. I like to study them beforehand, but needless to say, I don't have the time. But definitely, the thing I enjoyed the most was the battle between Destro and Baroness against Crystal Ball's creatures. The action, the camera circling around them, the spiders, the centipedes, I had a lot of fun with that. And was there any small details you think that people may have missed? Issue 22, page 18, Crystal Ball has rings on his right hand, but at 18, page 3, they disappear. They reappear again later on page 20, while in issue 24, page 1, they disappear again. It was definitely an illusion by Crystal Ball. Seriously though, in issue 23 on page 17, the setting is another homage to Dylan Dogs. The issue Mater Morbi, set in a hospital, had a particularly big impact on me, and I was deeply impressed by Carnivale's drawings. Thank you so much to Andrea and Milana for answering those questions and suffering the indignity of my, almost criminal level accent impression there. Tim, thoughts on those answers?
It's nice that we can check in with the contributors to these comics afterwards. It's interesting about rings disappearing from a hand, because this is sort of a question of theory for our listeners and viewers. If you were coloring a comic and you notice on one page a small piece of costume, let's say a ring, wasn't on someone's hand and it had been, and then in pages to come it would be again, should you color the rings on those fingers, even though the ink lines don't specify where or give them any sort of dimensionality or weight? That's just a question of philosophy and theory for all of you listeners who might pretend that you are comics colorists. That's what that makes me think of, because you could be fixing kind of a mistake, or you could be changing the intention, although the inadvertent intention of the inker.
Yes, and it sort of shows me as well the high level that Andrea holds himself to in terms of nitpicking his own art as he sees it. I guess probably published in front of him, and he's flicking through, and he's like, "Oh man, I can only see mistakes here." Right. So with that done, let's take a jaunt around the latest happenings in the Energon Universe.
All around the skybound world, are you looking for some G.I. Joe? There's Autobots and Decepticons and creatures from the sacred brain. All we need is Energon, sweet Energon. There'll be Energon everywhere. There'll be robots swinging, aliens killing, and Decepticons in the streets. Yeah!
Yes, indeed. So a quick catch up on what we've been doing in the Energon universe. A couple of weeks ago, we had our San Diego Comic-Con catch up with lots of news from the Energon universe there. And last week, we were talking to... 2 weeks ago, we were talking to Ben Abernathy, the Energon Universe executive editor at Skybound. So if you haven't yet checked that out, do have a look into the Talking Joe back catalogue. Be a couple of episodes down.
No spoilers in that for G.I. Joe 25. Did we spoil Mask 3? We did. Well, it already come out. Yes, so we do talk about Mask 3. We don't really talk about G.I. Joe 25. Although, folks, if you're hearing my voice right now, we're about to talk about G.I. Joe 25, so you might just listen to the episode after.
Yeah. So we will be issue 25, mostly spoiler free up until we've been through the cover gallery and played our spoiler jingle. Now, Energon Universe, what's happening at the moment? We've got a nice checklist at the back of the books reminding us that Mask number 3 was available on the 8th of August. Transformers issue 35 was out the following week. G.I. Joe issue number 25 was out the week after that, on the 29th. And Void Rivals is out next week on the 26th. So we are literally getting a check-in at the Energon Universe every week of the month. This particular month, which I know delights Tim, but there is more with the updated Energon Universe checklist. Not only are we getting Void Rivals issue 33, we're also going to get the ROM special reprints, which originally came in the Mask blind bag, plus also Mask Origins issue 1 this coming week as well. So if you haven't yet got those and haven't been paying too much attention to the solicit information, which, you know, to be fair, they were kind of a bit of a rush release on these because they were keeping them a bit more secret. Make sure that your comic book store is going to reserve you a copy of the ROM special and also the Mask Origins issue when they are out next week. I was pausing there just in case there was anything beyond a nod.
I'm nodding my head.
Cool. So not out last month was Void Rivals issue number 32, sort of the launch of this sort of ROM story where there's I think he's revealed on the very last page. So the ROM story proper begins in issue 33, but there's a lot of Pythona and Cobra La lore in this issue, particularly about their big flying bug which crashes down onto this alien planet. So a big focus on that and really making a big deal about the characterization of this flying, you know, nutsack.
I think the word is sentience.
Flying sentient being. That was what I meant. So also out since last time we spoke was Mask number 3. And Piper revealed on his Instagram the 2 of the working covers. He labeled these on the screen 2 and 2A. So it's a sort of a reverse shot of what we actually saw in the end, which was Miles Mayhem in his aerial vehicle with the Thunderhawk coming at him, but Pi also played around with the idea of reversing that angle and having Matt Tracker in his vehicle with Miles Mayhem flying towards him. Gene points out that that issue of the Void Rivals really made him start liking Pythona. Interesting to see how they'll take the character from here. Yeah, I mean, it is, to put a fine point on it, Pythona is living her story in the pages of Void Rivals. We've seen more of her in this comic than we've seen anywhere else, and she is really quite a central character there. But lots happened in the pages of the most recent Mask issue. So Matt Tracker and Miles Mayhem came face to face. Tracker jumped out of his Thunderhawk and punched Miles Mayhem's vehicle.
Midair.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't jump out of it while he's on the ground and jump up onto a plane that was like 10 feet off the air. He was in the air because his car is also a plane, and it was crashing, and he jumped out of it and landed on the front of the jet blade and punched the cockpit. Switchblade, thank you. And punched the cockpit glass, which is one of my, definitely in the running as favorite moment in comics in 2026. Take that, Absolute DC.
Gloria Baker and Bruce Sato got out alive from the peril they were in the previous issue. But here we go, burying the lead. It is Baron Karza's first appearance in the Energon universe, sort of appearing almost like a demon that Miles Mayhem has kind of conjured up to speak with him. So
because Mayhem is kneeling and there's a circle of candles on the ground. And
the way he's got these freaky tattoos on him as well. And
the way that Baron Karza is colored, it's unclear to me if he's actually there or if he's sort of
some sort of astral projection kind of
projecting himself. He's not quite colored transparently, but he is colored where the blacks of all of his form are not printed as black. So
Tim. So there's his character, Baron Karza, appearing in the pages of Mask 3. Why is this significant?
In the 70s, there was a toy line in Japan called Micro Change, and Mego, the American toy company, brought it to America, brought the forms to America, and gave them names and marketed as Micronauts. And this is an actual toy line, and the reason why you may not have heard of it is because it was not as successful as the other big toy lines of the 70s and 80s: Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers. And Marvel started a monthly comic book in 1978. The first year of it features early work by Michael Golden. Your comic book store may still have a facsimile edition of issue 1 of Micronauts, which came out a year ago. And much of it is now reprinted in Epic collections and maybe Omnibuy, I don't know. And what was interesting about this comic is that it was set in the Marvel Universe. And so the Micronauts characters regularly met Marvel characters. And a few of the characters were either invented for this comic book or because in Fantastic Four, is Psycho Man the Kirby villain from the Lee Kirby Fantastic Four run? Is he from the Microverse? I should know this. I think the Microverse had already existed in Marvel, and so the Micronauts characters are, they show up. Anyway, Marvel invented a few new characters that weren't based on toys, and the toys were highly posable. Not like Kenner Star Wars, and had magnetic parts that you could swap between certain figures. And the comic ran for, I want to say 4 years, and then was immediately replaced by Micronauts: The New Voyages, like by the same writer, a bunch of early work by Kelly Jones there. And then there was a 4-issue X-Men crossover, I think. And then that was it. In the last, 10 or 20 years, Hasbro has bought the Micronauts property from what was left of Mego. Mego was long defunct. In the 20-teens, when IDW expanded its G.I. Joe and Transformers licenses to include a bunch of other Hasbro brands, it also launched a Micronauts series in what we have talked about, what we've called the what have we called it? Sort of the continuation of the
Hasbroverse.
The Hasbroverse, right? Sometimes also called the Revolution verse, because that's the mini series where the characters all got together. So the Micronauts comic didn't last very long at IDW, but notably, issue 1 had a variant cover by Michael Golden and a variant cover by, or maybe a regular cover by J.H. Williams III, who will be doing a cover for the new series, which bears out, I think, what Ben Abernathy said to us in our interview, that, once you announce that you have the Micronauts license, suddenly you hear from a couple established creators who are fans who really want to do a cover. So I'm guessing J.H. Williams III, who had not done any work for IDW otherwise, now doing a second Micronauts cover for a second Micronauts publisher, is a fan. But it's not clear, Mark, if pause. And one of the challenges for IDW with the Micronauts license was they had the characters that had been Mego Micronauts toys. They did not have any of the new characters that were created at Marvel Comics as a part of the Micronauts story. And while IDW did have the name Dire Wraiths for the villains in a new Micronauts comic, they did not have the Marvel design. And so IDW had to come up with a different look for the Dire Wraiths. And I don't really know any Micronauts fans. Micronauts is sort of a half a generation older than me, Mark, than us. And again, it was not as big a hit. And so I don't know if, old school Micronauts fans were disappointed that the characters came back at IDW and it wasn't quite the same, or they couldn't sort of be the same, or were sort of miffed that now they're running around Cybertron and, there were G.I. Joe characters around, or if the people that read the book thought it was great and didn't mind that it was a relaunch.
Cool. Yeah, and to flag the point that Tim sort of skirted about was that just as we've got here now in the Skybound Energon Universe, a combined universe that features G.I. Joe, Transformers, and ROM and Mask. We did have the same thing in the Hasbro Revolution universe, plus the Micronauts. So there's a lot of
plus Action Man.
Plus Action Man, which we've not had in Skybound yet.
Plus Visionaries.
Which again, we wonder whether that might make an appearance at some point. They have used the words Prismosian to describe a planet in the pages of Void Rivals. So we've got an Easter egg there.
Right.
There was some interesting SDCC news and discussion and interviews, and both Kirkman and Sean Makowitz, the publisher, sort of talked about some of the behind the scenes aspects of this. They ROM and Mask, etc. They said that Mask and ROM was not in the original deal, that they wanted to, and Hasbro on the same page, start small, not go too big too quick. But they have been quietly and slowly adding more IP into the mix with Hasbro. Here's an Easter egg. Clutch, the character of Clutch, was originally considered to be Matt Tracker. So that was going to be Duke's friend in the pages of the Duke miniseries, but they decided to switch him out and have Clutch instead. And Kirkman, when talking about writing ROM, sort of noted that there were content issues, as in what was published by Marvel. A lot of that is owned by Marvel and can't be explicitly kind of brought out into new publishing. So his approach is kind of be to acknowledge almost that the backstory is there and skirt around it, but not necessarily directly call it out by name, show the design, have the character reference, but enough of it to kind of indicate that there is a backstory there that could have happened.
Just to add a half a sentence to that, just as the Micronauts comic at Marvel was firmly in the Marvel Universe, the ROM comic at Marvel was firmly in the Marvel Universe. And folks, don't forget, when Marvel first published Transformers as a 4-issue miniseries, between Spider-Man appearing and the Savage Land, Transformers was firmly in the Marvel Universe until it wasn't.
Yeah, and specifically for ROM as well, I think Hasbro basically owned ROM, everything that appeared on the original ROM toys, so the design, the accessories, any wording that featured on the packet. So the word Dire Wraiths, I believe, appears in text on the ROM toy, but not the design. So when Marvel introduced the Dire Wraiths in their comic, they created that design and they own that look of the Dire Wraiths. So where Dire Wraiths have since appeared with ROM, they've had to be radically redesigned and not sort of using the same design that featured in the pages of the Marvel comic of ROM.
In the same way that IDW and now Skybound have sort of dealt with or acknowledged or not acknowledged that these properties have material forever stuck in the Marvel Universe that they can't access, Marvel had this challenge as well. after the ROM comic ended in the 90s, there was a miniseries called Space Knights, which I think was drawn by Chris Batista, who's drawn 2 issues of G.I. Joe. I think Jim Starlin wrote it. Maybe it was Ron Mars. I can't remember. And Space Knights was, ROM is a space knight in the Marvel Universe. And so Space Knights dealt with sort of that corner of the cosmic Marvel Universe. ROM did not show up. And then similarly in, what's the wedding issue? What's where Rick and Marlo get married in Incredible Hulk during Peter David's run? It's like 418. It's 400 and teens. I think ROM shows up in sort of an uncredited and copyright appearance visual. I think he shows up and they're like, "Hey, it's you," but they can't say his name. Also Peter David. And if all those are wrong, folks, correct me in the comments. Back to you, Mark.
Cool. In the chat, we've got Simon, evening chaps, evening Simon, and we've got Bobby World 2311. I wonder if we'll have 2,310 other Bobby Worlds also appearing in the chat. I'm just reusing a joke from last week.
One of your best.
He said, I wonder if T-Bob is going to be upgraded since he's in the same universe as transforming robots.
Haven't we already?
Or if they're going to keep him as that egg-shaped transforming into a scooter type of character. And this demonstrates the importance of watching every episode of Talking Joe, because in our San Diego coverage, we had the reveal of a potentially transforming T-Bob into T-Bob Max, this cool kind of mecha-shaped T-Bob that is a bit of a promise of things to come from, as designed by Piper.
I will once again offer you all my spectacular impression of T-Bob. Okay.
Very good. The other bit, while I'm talking about San Diego news from my research, there was not too much talk of Energon Animated Universe, but at one point, and it's one of those things that typically the question is brushed aside, but at one point Robert Kirkman was asked about it, and he did confirm that it was still in development and that he was working with Joe Henderson on it. So that element of the rumor, as reported in Hollywood Reporter, I think, it does seem to be echoed, still being worked on, and hopefully before too very long, we'll have some news.
Yeah, folks, if you are feeling impatient, that was it a year ago, six months ago, there was a rumor that Skybound, this IP company that makes animated series and comics, was trying to develop an animated series for the Energon Universe. If part of you is thinking it's taking too long, why hasn't there been an announcement? Man, making an animated show takes so long. And as we have seen from Skybound's other animated and comics works, they tend to do a very good job. So it would take, and
they're also
longer.
Very expensive to make. So they need
yes,
they need a lot of things to be tied up in advance. Michael Jean Fleming sort of talks about hopefully that Marvel and Hasbro sort of working out some kind of agreement, and I think there has been a bit of that in terms of working out some of the detail that has allowed Marvel to produce the Marvel omnibuses of ROM and Micronauts, it was funny. Kirkman actually in one of his interviews talked about something similar about sort of Marvel being very cool and pragmatic, which was when he was doing the Invincible blind bags. There was one Invincible appearance that has never been reprinted before, or reprinted by Skybound, which was the Invincible and Spider-Man crossover, which I think appeared in Marvel Team Up or something along those lines.
Yes,
and he was talking to them about some rights issues, and was saying, "Oh, it would be really cool if maybe you could reprint that issue of Marvel Team Up, because it hasn't been in print for such a long time." And they said, "Huh, why don't you just do it?" And he was like, "Oh, really? That's very nice for you." So they basically gave him the okay to do it. I think he'd almost written off the idea of him being able to do it. So they gave the okay, and it was in the blind badge as a reprint.
Let's also, and then a month later, there was a proper reprint that you could buy at your comic book store.
Okay,
Had a bunch of there was a Todd. This was the first time Todd McFarlane has drawn Spider-Man in official capacity in like 15 years. He did one of the variant covers for that reprint.
Look, in the chat, it's Cobra Ninja 109. I wonder if we'll get 108 other Cobra Ninjas in the chat.
Still your best joke. In terms of Skybound and Marvel sharing or trading, let's also not forget that the Transformers Compendium 1, which reprints the first big chunk of Marvel Transformers issues, does include Transformers issue 3, which has Spider-Man.
Right.
So twice now in the last year, Skybound has printed a thing with a Marvel character, and it's entirely possible that there are aspects of these deals that we are not privy to. Like maybe there is money changing hands, or maybe there's like a favor for the future. Like, well, then we can do a so-and-so with something that you have. It may just be, we don't have the bandwidth for this, you do it. Or it may just be sort of good vibes. But these are businesses and they do want to make money.
So, Mask issue number 3, sort of a surprise to pretty much everyone with the reveal of Baron Karza and the promise of Micronauts to come, even if we've not seen anything beyond Karza yet at this point. And they will have a second printing of issue number 3 with that kind of vectorized cover, with a blank white cover with a vector behind it, which unusually here is by Marco Ferrari on the cover A, and not Jason Howard, perhaps because he's busy with Transformers-y stuff.
Yeah, is this the second printing cover that we've seen in the Energon universe, where it's a character all by themselves with a white background, not drawn by
maybe
Jason Howard? But since Marco Ferrari is drawing issue 4 of Mask, having him do the second printing for the cover of 3 is a good way of sort of cross-promoting that.
So this will be out September the 2nd, 2026, along with a cover B, also featuring Baron Karza. And as Tim mentioned before, J.H. Williams is the cover artist on this one.
One more thing about that J.H. Williams cover for Micronauts back at IDW. That was J.H. Williams. You know how he can draw in a lot of styles, and for some of his projects does. That Micronauts cover of Baron Karza 10 years ago was J.H. Williams drawing a little bit in a Michael Golden style.
Right.
If you track down that cover.
That's J.H. Williams of Promethea and Batwoman fame, isn't it?
Yes.
Me Karza, S2 Karza. Thanks, Greg. So coming out next week, ROM Special number 1, the reprint, and Mask Origins issue number 1, both reprinting the exclusive issues that were surprise reveals from the Mask blind bags.
But remember, Mask Origins is already a reprint comic book because it has pages from issues over the last 6 months from G.I. Joe and Transformers. So new cover, but the insides, if you're reading G.I. Joe and Transformers, you have read these scenes before.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you've got the Mask appearances from the pages of Transformers and G.I. Joe, then you've already seen this content. I don't think there's anything extra in there outside of a cover and a letter in the back. So ROM Special, we've got, so this is from Kirkman, artist Lorenzo De Felici, so the Void Rivals original creative team, and also they did Oblivion song together. Colors, Mateus Lopes, letters, Russ Wooton. I've had a preview of this, and it's a very cool standalone cover comic. Sort of Lorenzo De Felici sort of growing in stature in my mind every time I see new work from him. So multiple covers, Lorenzo De Felici, Christian Ward, who's very into the psychedelic stuff, so it's a good fit for him with this cover B. EJ Sue on cover C. Again, sort of an armored Space Knight type character. I think he co-create Tech Jacket? Was that EJ Sue? I think it might have been.
Yeah.
Cover D, Nick Bradshaw and Jim something. That's Charlampidis. Well done. Thank you.
Nick Bradshaw, folks. maybe one of these comics creators who, when there's a ROM thing, says, "Oh, I'm a ROM fan," because 2 years ago, Marvel did a Marvel Tales reprinting of some ROM issues where ROM meets the X-Men. Marvel Tales in the last 5 years, 10 years have been these like $7 and $8 Marvel reprints, and they tend to have a new letter at the beginning from editor Ralph Macchio, and they tend to each reprint 4 comics. And that ROM and the X-Men reprint from like 2 years ago that Marvel did had a new cover by Nick Bradshaw.
Huh.
This purple sort of thing that ROM's wearing, like a sort of a scarf and sort of a poncho.
Yeah, it's like an organic alien poncho thing. I believe called Carpet, I think is his name.
Is that something we've seen before in ROM? Okay.
Introduced for the first time in the pages of this ROM special.
Okay. Mark was shaking his head no.
Blank cover and one of these sort of mask covers, the sort of die cut mask covers by John Amor and Andres Juarez.
You don't mean mask Crusaders. You mean mask like a thing you put on your head. So it's like the cover they did for like G.I. Joe 1 and G.I. Joe 25, where there's an outer layer, which is just a head, which has been cut out and then stapled to the cardstock sort of background cover. That's what you mean by mask, not Mobile Armored Strike Command.
And then we've got Mask Origins also out next week with its own covers. So this one on screen is the Piper one, which was the blind bag one in metallic sheen at the time. Foil, I think is the word. We were just talking about him, Jason Howard Hound cover. And this one is, I forget, this one is Ethan Young, the cover C. Then we've got Daniello Raveruth, I think, and Ben Oliver with one of his lineup head profile shots now in the pages of Mask featuring Matt Tracker. And then we are on over to the latest happenings in Transformers. Latest issue was out August the 12th. So basically 2 weeks ago, I want to say. And what happened as biggest moments in this particular issue. Wheeljack had a mysterious Pulp Fiction style box that he opened. That's a bit of a mystery. There was Shredhead that had been injured and was being operated on by Dr. Archival. And he's designing one of these spacesuit thingies. This is a movie Easter egg, isn't it, Tim?
When you say he, you mean Wheeljack, not Archival.
Wheeljack, yeah.
Yes, this is what Spike and Daniel are in the 1986 animated Transformers movie. Happy 40th anniversary, 1986 animated Transformers movie. And Starscream, he appears to live. He's escaped from Decepticons off of the... and I think he's making his way to Wheeljack and the Shard, perhaps. But, yeah, I think because he's alive... that it holds a promise of Duke meeting him at some point in the future. So his revenge has not been taken from him. But most significantly, Thundercracker searches for Cobra La in the Himalayas, finds Skywarp, but much more significantly, he also finds Cobra La. And can you see this big fella up on the top left, Tim? He is sporting one of the new Royal Guard designs, I think probably from Lenny Panzica, as featured in the latest classified design. So again, classified sort of designs being pulled into the Energon universe. But yeah, it looks like maybe he's some sort of super Cobra La Royal Guard. So I haven't looked at the classified Cobra La Royal Guard figure. Is that your way of saying that the 6-inch Cobra Law Royal Guard figure is not like a one-to-one envisioning of the 1987 animation design, that it's like more bulked up and has more weapons? And is that wings, or is that a different colored cape?
He's also got wings. Yep.
Okay.
He's winged. I'll try and pop an image in the
I just want to call out what a great job Jason Howard is doing on Transformers. His poses when his Transformers are yelling and running and fighting, his poses are so great. And making Transformers have energetic poses. Maybe now we're used to it because, the Daniel Warren Johnson issues 1 through 6 had all these crazy wrestling moves. But, if you think about like Marvel 80s G.I. Joe drawn by, Jose Delbo or Don Perlin, or even a few issues by Herb Trimpe, if you think about the Dreamwave one, characters that were really sort of anime mech, there is so much to use an imprecise term. There is so much animation in the poses. There's so much energy and a little bit of stretch in how Jason Howard draws his Transformers kicking and jumping and punching. Mark has put on screen a Hasbro photo of its 6-inch classified Royal Guard, and Man of Action 1807 says he looks like a lobster with wings. Is this toy in stores yet?
I believe so. I believe this one is out. I because I'm not actively buying most of these now, I don't always keep a track of when they land in person. But yeah, I think this guy's out. He was announced quite a whiles back. So
okay,
yeah.
So he has a black cape and wings and blue sort of translucent or like chromy wings. Dramatic green lighting from the left side in this photo. Look at those weird green highlights on all the left sides of his shapes.
They're good. They're good.
Cool.
Good. Right there was something else. Let me just find the right thing. So here we go. This was one that Tim, you pointed out to me that on the Transformers news page they had revealed.
I think it was TFW 2005. I think that was the website.
Yep, that they had announced. Where are we? That they're beginning to see in-package images of the new Transformers Studio Series Energon Universe Optimus Prime. So this is an Energon Universe branded version of the Optimus Prime toy. The word Energon Universe appears on the Hasbro packaging, and it's a retool and redeco of the Studio Series Commander class Optimus Prime, based on his appearance in Skybound's Transformers, featuring a new head and Energon's right arm, but without his trailer. So a cool figure, sort of beginning to show up in Taiwan. And nice that the toys are leaning into the world of the Energon Universe comics. I think we'll just see more and more. I think as revealed at San Diego Comic-Con, there was Shredhead from the pages of Transformers. So keep your eye out for more Energon Universe toys. This slide here, August 2026. Can you guess what this slide is trying to tell us, Tim?
This is how many comics Joshua Williamson has written, published in the last in August of 2026. So he wrote he co-wrote DCKO. He is writing the monthly Iron Man. He is writing the monthly Superman, which is great. He is writing the monthly G.I. Joe. He's writing this current Wolfman miniseries for the Universal Monsters imprint at Skybound. That mask thing is a reprint. I don't know how many of the DCKO All Fight specials. That was like 4 issues by themselves, and then also 4 issues from regular series. And then there was he wrote the Night Fight miniseries. That's what's included in that Battle Royale collection. Williamson wrote a 4-issue Batman miniseries. It's sort of what Batman does like between issues 1 and 5, or like between 2 and 5 of DCKO, drawn by Dan Mora. So Josh Williamson is very busy.
Indeed. And also out, as written by Joshua Williamson, this month they reprinted Skybound reprinted some of the Nightforce issues ahead of their appearance in issue number 25. So we had a third printing of G.I. Joe issue number 7 featuring Beachhead, a second printing of G.I. Joe issue number 12 featuring Shooter, and a second printing of G.I. Joe issue number 18 featuring Roadblock. What's interesting about those two those reprints of 18 and what's the slide before it? And 12.
Speaking of Marco Federa, who draws comics professionally and lives in Italy and drew these 2 issues of G.I. Joe, amongst others, is watching us live right now, and in the comments said, "Yeah." Interestingly, these 2 issues with the Jason Howard covers with one character and a white background are shipping with an extra white protective outer cover, which is something that I've seen a little bit with some Image books and I think DC books in the last couple of years, where maybe it's like white cover cardstock for like a sketch cover, or there's some kind of like shiny reflective thing, or it's just a shiny just a bright white cover and you don't want it scuffed, which is very nice of them. But as a store owner, I feel kind of bad pulling it out of the box and then tearing the outer cover off. It doesn't say anything. There's no barcode. There's no logo. It's just white, just a thin white sheet all over. Yeah, but it's part of they're not staples, but it's part of the staple job. And you sort of gingerly tear it off. And then there's the Jason Howard cover. So if you want to sell it, you have to tear the outer cover off so people know what it is.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen it as well. Particularly the blank covers there, it's because it's so blank, and also the material is not as glossy as a regular cover. They're sort of very susceptible to just getting a bit of rub and just picking up a little bit of color and then not being completely perfect. Skybound have also put out some details of their NYCC 2026 schedule. Transformers and G.I. Joe, what is next for the Energon Universe on October the 10th, 2026. That's too small for me, so I'll have to find the thing, unless you can read that yourself, Tim.
Saturday, October 10th, 2026, 11:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. Room 406.2, the Energon Universe in Chaos. Join superstars Robert Kirkman, Dan Waters, Tom Reilly, Jason Howard, and Connor Hughes as they unveil what the future holds for Skybound and Hasbro's record-breaking shared universe, featuring Transformers, G.I. Joe, Void Rivals, and Mask, moderated by Ben Abernathy. Hey, I could go to that.
Hey, you could moderate it.
No. Ben Abernathy will moderate it. I might just be in the front row sketching people up on stage, but I will be at New York Comic Con on the Friday and the Saturday this year. I should say I have tickets and am planning to go. Who knows what'll happen between now and then, but assuming all is good, I will be there. And while this kind of panel I don't feel a strong urge to go to, because if they give away freebie, that's fun. That's not something I need. And if they have scoops, that's not something I have to hear the moment it's announced. I'm happy to read about it on the internet that same day, or read about it in actual comics several months later. But I'll be there, and I don't have anything I have to do this year at New York Comic Con. So why not? Also, it'd be fun to say hello to some of these people in person who have been on the show, or the one person who's been at my store, to say hello in person again.
Good. And then there's also a generic Skybound panel talking more broadly about what's going on at Skybound, Transformers, Invincible, Universal Monsters, and more with various Skybound creators. Oh, look, they've got Doug Mankey there.
So,
this one is moderated by Alex Antone. So
you just mentioned Transformers, but what this panel is really about is sort of everything else. So revealing a new slate, now revealing a new slate that will have everyone talking. So a bunch of great creators. Wait, Matt Emmons. Oh, he was a student of mine. He's got a Skybound book. That's great. I mean, he's done amazing things. Matt Emmons was my student like 10 years ago. So he's run Kickstarters. He has a story in Godzilla versus Boston. And he has self-published some comics. Well, that's a fun surprise. Anyway.
Very good.
That's cool. Maybe I'll go to this panel and say hello to Matt.
Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that is us done with the news, which means that we can actually finally move on to the covers by taking a look at the cover gallery.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
G.I. Joe 25 cover A, drawn and colored by Tom Reilly. It's a wraparound. We see that same blue sky that we saw in the Dreadnought War, with sort of a, top 2/3 is a big open sky, bottom third is some tan, sandy, light beige dirt. On the left half are Nightforce, heading towards the right, including a Skyhawk piloted by Shooter. On the right, aiming to the left, are established Joes, Stalker, Baroness, Covergirl, Duke, and Risk. In the middle, not exactly at the center line, but just about at the center line, are Hound, and up on his, and he's surprised, and up on his shoulder is Clutch. So in each of these characters gets to face off with someone on the opposite team. So all the way on the bottom, you've got on the left, Beachhead, who's got a pistol and a knife, and he's crouching forward, but then sort of at his same altitude. On the right side is Stalker, who's sort of kneeling back, and he's got a machine gun. Lady Jace going to face off against Baroness, etc. And sort of in the center of it all is Flint versus Duke. And their poses are more mirrored of each other than sort of anyone else's. There's a little bit of atmospheric perspective which is another way of saying color perspective on the tank, which I guess is a Mobat, and Hound and the Skyhawk, where those lines are not black. They're like a sort of a dull, dark gray, dark blue. So that they appear further in the distance, the same way that the mountains along the horizon line are similarly knocked back and hazy. Fun cover. Tac Tac Toys says, I don't know if this cover is intentional, but it reminds me of the running sequence of the X-Men animated series intro. Yes, at the end of the X-Men cartoon, the good guys and bad guys are running at each other from left and right. And when they smash into each other, the logo appears. Greg Augustin says, so superhero comic booky. Super Friends versus Legion of Doom vibes. I love it. This is a motif in sort of fiction that we've seen. And then Mark has put on screen Tom Reilly's original artwork for this, which looks great. 2 pieces of Bristol taped together, clean inks, really nice spotting of blacks on some of the characters who've got black parts of their costumes, like Flint's shirt and Baroness's sort of body glove under her armor. Very cool cover. And not only does it, I don't know if Tom Reilly is doing this on purpose, or if there's just sort of a neat default where Joe's might be on a cover in the daylight, sort of out in the middle of like the American Midwest. But Duke #1, which was a slightly different time of day, but that's still a blue sky background. G.I. Joe #1, much of the Dreadnought War, and now issue 25. I think Tom Reilly might be calling these back a little bit on purpose, that these covers are supposed to remind you of previous covers, but also showing you how much things have changed, right? So in Duke #1, there's Duke and one Transformer in the background. On G.I. Joe #1, there's Duke and all the Joes and Cobras and various Transformers parts. And here now on G.I. Joe 25, it's, Joe versus Joe or Joe versus Nightforce. One last thing about this cover. To be able to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To be able to put 10 characters running or lunging at each other on opposite sides of, yes, even a wraparound cover, and not have anyone sort of cover up or obstruct sort of an interesting or important part of anyone else, not have any weird tangents where, like, the end of someone's knife or gun is like well in front of someone else's knee, but it sort of lines up as if they're touching. The actual arrangement, the actual composition here, we talk a lot about how, like, Tom Reilly's faces are great, or how his inking is really crisp, or how his acting is really good, how his camera angles are really nice. Just the actual blocking here, the actual staging for a cover with 10, let's say 12 characters plus 2 more vehicles. This is really satisfying in how everyone is arranged. All the poses are different. Cover B is drawn by Jerome Pena and colored by Niraj Menon. Here is Lady J lunging with her javelin at the Baroness. We're sort of behind Lady J. They're taking up kind of the bottom 2/3 of the cover. There are some sort of rocks on the bottom 1/5 of the cover. There's this really strong diagonal to this cover. If you look at the line, the diagonal made by the javelin and Lady J's arm, and then the opposite diagonal of Lady J's torso and her legs, and Baroness's torso and her legs. There's basically a bunch of X's on this cover. The background and much of the top third is a hazy, smoky flame that's starting on the ground in the distance. It's almost like a moment from the Tom Reilly cover, but sort of getting a cover itself. Cover C is drawn by oh, look at that. It's that must be Miki Okazaki holding a printed copy of the cover that she drew for this issue of G.I. Joe. Her cover is the Baroness, waist up, turned away a little bit from us, holding a pistol. She's illuminated from behind. It doesn't quite look like a bunch of headlights because they're sort of not all lined up, but it's kind of that effect. But there are 4 or 5 or 6 bright headlights. Mark is now putting up on screen a time-lapse video that artist Miki Okazaki must have posted online of her digitally painting this cover in, I'm going to guess, Procreate, but I don't know, where all the colors and the shapes are coming more and more into focus, and a couple things are getting slightly resized or moved with more and more details and layers of light and shadow lined up. Baroness looks very young and very, to use an imprecise term here, like anime. She looks very Eastern and not Western, or I guess European. And that's okay. It's not my favorite cover. I think Baroness should be pretty, but I also think Baroness has a regal and tough quality to her. And some artists of the pretty or sort of babe Baroness cover a variety, and I'll call this one cute and pretty rather than sort of babe, catch more of the feminine youth and cute, and less of the regal killer spy mercenary. So I do like more sort of age and wisdom and toughness. This is, I'm sure where telepathically Mark is telling me to point out that Baroness does have her beauty mark here on the left side of her face, our right, just below her lips. Okay, cover D.
Yeah, I did pick. One of the reasons I posted the Instagram photo of the artist posing with the cover was possibly that there might be a little bit of the artist's own reference looking in the mirror, sort of seeping into the image there, just in much the same way that in Sean Phillips illustrated books, there's an awful lot of guys that look like Sean Phillips. So
maybe we can cross these two things halfway. Maybe Sean Phillips can do a G.I. Joe cover. He's far too busy drawing a book that he half owns. Cover D is by Fadime Yildirim. This one is what's the name for this new series of covers?
This, I believe, is the G.I. Joe streetwear covers. On Instagram, the artist did post a few comments about it. She said, really happy to share the full lineup of character designs I created for this project. Working on something this fashion driven with Skybound Entertainment was genuinely one of the most enjoyable parts of the process for me. Since I've been working in branding and textile design for over 10 years, approaching the characters through styling, silhouettes, layering, and material language felt very natural and instinctive. Before starting the actual designs, I built separate mood boards for each character to really test the to really define their energy and visual identity first. Throughout the series, I wanted to balance operational and military-inspired influences with a more contemporary streetwear aesthetic. Some details were even inspired by silhouettes and pieces from my own past fashion design work, which made the process feel even more personal to me. This project gave me the chance to fully think like a designer again, and honestly, I had an incredible time working on it. I hope creators can feel the energy, attitude, and little details I tried to bring into each character. A huge thank you to Ben Abernathy. The way you understood my fashion-orientated approach and gave feedback accordingly made me feel very comfortable and creatively free through the whole process. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity. You were genuinely one of the kindest and most understanding persons that I've worked with, and I truly hope we get to work again in the future. So on Instagram, the artist shared a couple of her sort of work in progress pictures and mood boards, as she describes them. She's got 6 covers across the next 6 issues, covering the core G.I. Joe team there: Duke, Baroness, Flint, Lady J, Risk, and Covergirl. They're all lined up. And there's the second mood board there, looking at Duke.
So these covers are exciting and highly unusual. And so if I put on my grump hat, if I'm going to be a grump, I would say, who are these for? You know, G.I. Joe fans and readers are reading like a military action comic, and all of this stuff should be functional. And fashion is a mixture of function and aesthetic of how things look, you know, things that catch the eye. And you might look at this first cover with Duke, which is a 1:25 ratio variant, and see that his boots look more like sneakers, and, you know, sneakers aren't going to last as long as boots. Or look at his jacket, which is a little loose, and then it's got like a bandolier sort of belt of pouches like slung over it in a, like, you know, athletic fashion-y way. And you might think like, well, that doesn't make sense, because that's going to sort of keep his jacket pressed against him, and he can't like zip up and down his jacket. Or you know, someone might look at his face and say, he's too young, he's too pretty. Not my Duke. And very, very quickly, in like a couple seconds, all those things flashed through my head when this cover and these covers were first posted online a month or 3 ago. Marvel has done a bunch of fashion streetwear variant covers. And my reaction to these is, well, they're not for me. It's not my thing, but I know so little about fashion that I'm not actually well equipped to critique these. And I can certainly critique them as like an established G.I. Joe reader who's got a lot of toys and comics. But these like comparing these designs to like any costume that Duke has ever had in comics or toys is beside the point. Like these are meant to be fashion pinups by someone who has a completely different tradition. It's sort of like you know that there's this artist Mr. Garcin or M.R. Garcin or Garcin who's been doing these collage variant covers for Marvel in the last 10 years, like final issues and first issues where he's like cutting up covers and panels. So like a Black Panther cover, it's all like a big collage of like Black Panther made up of like tiny cutouts of like Black Panther from old comics and new comics. He's done this for Spider-Man and all sorts of characters. And it's a very artsy approach where you like kind of just want a drawing of Black Panther or like Black Panther fighting Claw or Black Panther like standing on a mountain. And it's like, getting back to the G.I. Joe fashion covers, could these be exciting for someone who's either new to G.I. Joe or someone who, like Mark and I, likes all the sort of traditional G.I. Joe trappings, costumes and gear and quote realism, but also has like a broader acceptance for what could be G.I. Joe, right? We've got like designy silhouette covers and we've got covers where it's just portraits of their faces and heads and shoulders in front of a wall by Ben Oliver. These are not my thing. These characters look sort of too young and pretty. And the costumes like sort of don't work, but I'm aware of how big fashion has become in culture in the last 10 years. Like, remember magazines, remember print magazines? So I actually have a subscription to Rolling Stone, which is still published. And like 2 years ago, they were like, oh, by the way, we're going to spend a lot more time and pages every issue doing on fashion because like actors and musicians and celebrities are spending a lot more time on their online videos and showing up at award shows like in really interesting and crazy clothing as art, clothing as performance, not just like, which designer are you wearing? Or like, is that a pretty dress or pretty tux? And not my thing, but Skybound, there are plenty of covers that like a grump like me can be perfectly satisfied by. So yeah. And if you really, really don't like it, it'll be done in 6 months.
In 2025, you don't have to get it. Next up, where are we? Is the D.
This is Michelle Rubini and Annalisa Leone. It is Beachhead versus Stalker. They're in a bombed out city, daytime, hazy light blue background. We are kind of like that B cover with Lady J and Baroness. We are sort of behind Beachhead, who's like 2/3 full figure, crouching forward, 2 knives. Stalker has 2 knives. Greg Augustin in the comments says Ranger versus Ranger. And this cover has a lot more yellow in it than either the A or B covers. And then we're up to A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, we're up to cover F.
Is this 1 in 100, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Rubini was 1 in 50. So John Boy Myers is 1 in 100. So this will be like shiny foil. And this was revealed at San Diego Comic-Con, right? But hadn't been revealed up until then. Strong diagonal here. Almost a full figure of this new character, Major Medusa. It's not Madame Medusa, right?
People want to keep on saying Madame Medusa or Mistress Medusa, but yeah, she didn't go to military academy for nothing. She's a major Medusa.
So this is a blonde lady with red eyes, not glowing red eyes like Megatron. I mean, like human eyes with the white part, but then the color part is red. Green lipstick. She's got a tight black or maybe very dark blue sort of baronessy uniform, but she has a hood with some stripes on it. And behind her is the Cobra logo and a bunch of sort of glowing, like geometric, glyphy, electric dark blue stuff. But her fingers and arms are out as if she's casting a spell, and wrapped around her arms and legs, but sort of coming at you to attack, are these like glowing green snakes, which is an ability that Crystal Ball had in the previous 3 issues. So ... We'll talk about this more.
Yep. And this is by John Boy Myers on his website today. I think he might have put these on live. johnboymyers.com. You can get these direct from the artist with a certificate of authenticity. I think he's selling these at about $100. Something in that kind of realm.
So it says AP on the bottom right next to 25.
Oh, right. That must be like artist proof.
But
proof. Thank you.
But an artist proof is like the early editions of a print that the artist prints before they like say yes, and then they like do the full run. So I don't exactly know what that means here, because otherwise it sort of seems like it's the same comic that
maybe it means a consignment given to the artist rather than necessarily a proof per se.
Okay.
So there we go. Next up, we have got 2 blank covers, one with a G.I. Joe star, which is the cover G blank sketch variant, and then a cover H, which is a Nightforce blank sketch variant, which has got a little mini Nightforce logo in the top left-hand corner. And then there is a foil variant as well of the Tom Reilly, the same as the cover A, but in foil. Was that one, that's the cover I, was that one open to order? I think it might have been.
Yes. And then, Mark, are there any retailer? Oh, we're still, okay. And then cover A, B, C, D, F, G, H, 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 I, J. Is this cover J?
Maybe. Yeah.
This is, so here's another sort of head die cut cover. This is Andrea Milana and Andres Juarez, who's the book's designer. So Milana has drawn Zartan's head. If you're looking at the cover from the front, you see half of his head on the left. And then if you fold out the whole comic so you can see the full cover, it's his head as a die-cut second object on top of the outer, I guess, inner cardstock cover, which has sort of some like white distressing, as if we're looking at like a computer monitor with a Cobra logo or something. That's the designy stuff that Andres Juarez has done. This was also open to order. Mark, are there any retailer exclusive variants?
There are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retailer exclusives. The first of which is by George Vega. This one was through Black Saber Comics. George said, "When I got the brief about the teams having dissension, I thought of ways to portray that and get a good amount of team members on there. I decided to show torn edges. I took various bits of actual physical torn paper, photographed that, and used it as in my base drawing." So there's without the logo, and there's the black and white version of that on a Bristol board. Also up is this Racha Lynn Baroness cover. We're running long, so I won't play the Baroness music, but just imagine ding 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 ding.
I mean, she is in this issue.
She is in the issue, so it's fair enough. So yeah, a Baroness variant there by Racha Lynn.
Very cartoony, big
very anime kind of stylings.
Big anime eyes.
This one is available at Dallas Fan Expo. which runs September the 11th to the 13th, or online from Wambulance Comics, which is like ambulance with the letter W at the very front of it. Now, there is also, well, as I say, there is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retailer variants, George Vega and Ratchta Lynn, which we have seen, but there is also Cedric Poulard, Jonathan Knight, and Tiago da Silva, which at time of recording, we have not seen any of those three. So there's 3 mystery covers still TBC, which may come out at some point in the future. Possibly, if I was to make a guess, these might be being held back as New York Comic Con exclusives, would be my guess, but we'll see.
Can you go back 3 slides to the George Vega art, the Bristol?
All right.
Folks, if you're curious, if you read my convention reports about Joe Fest in June in Augusta, in part, I think it's 3, I stopped by George Vega's table and we talk, and I said, he showed me a cover upcoming that's top secret, and it's this one. This is what he showed me. Okay,
very good.
You want a spoiler jingle?
Well, we'll look at the creative team of this issue. So this issue was brought to us by writer Joshua Williamson, artists Andrea, Milana, and Tom Reilly, colorist Lee Loughridge, letterer Russ Wooton, editor Ben Abernathy, publication design Andres Juarez, and production is Abigail Lee. So we're going to get deep into the insides of this comic. And before we do so, let's just play a little spoiler jingle.
Watch out! There's spoilers ahead! Turn back before it's too late!
Now, what better way to get into this issue by having a look at what happens in it? And we'll do so via the medium of a plot breakdown.
Plot breakdown.
We open the story to the Nightforce team on a practice mission against snake armor robots. We are introduced to the team of Flint, Lady J, Beachhead, Shooter, and Roadblock. We recap the events of G.I. Joe up to this point from the Duke miniseries through to present day. And Baroness walking in on Hawktan, or Zarthawk. Which one shall we get into a meme? Cutting the throat of Crystal Ball. Zartan sounds the alarm. Baroness is working with Cobra and has assassinated Crystal Ball, he tells the Joe team. She makes an escape up the levels of the pit, past her Joe teammates, and away on a motorbike. Elsewhere, at Cobra's HQ, Major Medusa makes her debut, demonstrating to deadly effect dire tech. Back at the pit, Hawk orders the Joes to kill the Baroness, something that they don't agree with. And at her fancy yacht, the Baroness is found by the Nightforce team, who also have orders to shoot to kill. As she tries to convince them of Hawk's sus factor, Duke's team arrives to rescue her. And as Hound has her in his hands, the newest member of Nightforce is deployed. It's G.I. Bat. Dun dun dun. Woo. Where do you want to start, Tim?
Just an overview of the object. This is an oversized issue. It's not $3.99. It's an extra $1. It's $4.99. This is 30 pages of comics, not 20. This is the return of Tom Reilly after an arc drawn by Andrea Milana. They seem to be alternating, which we think is great, with some additional support by very, very talented other artists on the series, Marco. And this issue is, there are 11 pages drawn by Andrea Milana and 19 pages drawn by Tom Reilly. And so we are getting almost, if we round up to 20, we're getting a normal Tom Reilly's worth amount of comic for a return for him returning on the book for hopefully the full arc. But because it's longer, Milana, who just did some issues and is the other series regular artist, is here to do the opening scene and also some pages here and there throughout. And Mark, you and I have talked about how sort of against our earliest impressions, these two artists do, I wouldn't say they draw similarly, but there's a lot that they have in common. Well, I guess that's just saying the same thing with different words. You wouldn't think they draw similarly, but they do. There are plenty of differences.
Sympathetic, I think, is more than similar. That they've definitely got different styles, but those styles gel well together. Tim, I just looked ahead to the solicit for G.I. Joe issue number 28. We've not gone and sort of gone into lots of detail about the very latest solicits as revealed yesterday. But G.I. Joe issue number 28 solicits for the November issue did come out. And on the art for number 28 is Tom Reilly. So I think we are getting a good few issues from him in a row, which is great, because I do feel spoiled seeing Tom Reilly art.
Yes. There's still a part of me I'm still pinching me that Tom Reilly, it's like, no, surely you want to leave G.I. Joe and go draw something else, right? And folks, if you're like, well, Tim, why don't you believe in G.I. Joe? You got to understand. Think of me sort of forever as the kid who was reading G.I. Joe in 89 through 94, where the series would get an artist and then they'd leave. And over those years, G.I. Joe at Marvel was quickly becoming one of Marvel's lower selling books. And it's harder to keep the exciting or veteran or famous artists, and you tend to get new people or less experienced people. So part of me is still like, well, surely this is the book that people don't want to draw, right? Because like G.I. Joe's sort of embarrassing, right? It's like, no, Tim, you're not 13, and G.I. Joe's not embarrassing. G.I. Joe's awesome, and people like it. Okay. I was struck by how the story started with Nightforce, Mark, even though it sort of feels like the cliffhanger at the end of the previous issue demands or suggests that we'll pick up in the pit with the regular G.I. Joe team, with Baroness. They definitely give us some delayed gratification to picking up.
These first few pages I think are great, because there's a couple of distinct kind of sequences which are getting us completely up to date with the Nightforce story, the G.I. Joe main team story, giving us some new content and a fun action scene before then getting into let's pick up back in the pits.
Yeah. I really like page 1, because when you say Nightforce to me, I immediately think of black vehicles. I think of Joes in black and sort of dark green and dark brown and dark gray costumes. And I think of that crazy neon red logo. That's the stickers from this Toys R Us exclusive toy line from, is it 1988? And it was 2 years. And I didn't think we were really going to get like black repainted vehicles or that crazy logo, but it's not quite the logo, but they're alluding to the letter forms on the cover of this comic book where it actually says Nightforce. So it's sort of half the logo. And on this first page, we're not really getting a black Skyhawk, but the way that it's inked and colored, your brain sort of says, oh, that's black. And then
black and orange, or black and that sort of crazy Nightforce accent color.
Yes, and what Lee Loughridge has done here on this first page is put a little bit of bright red in every panel, which, whether on purpose or not, I'm going to say on purpose, alludes to the original Nightforce. And then you turn the page,
and well, on this page specifically, the you've got 4 panels, and each one of those panels is giving us a flashback to a character, but also a story moment. So we've got the Energon Universe 2024 special, which introduced us to Flint and Lady J. The issue number 7, which introduced us to Beachhead and him being recruited by Lady J, and also another extra mystery character dangling from the Skyhawk there. And then the third panel is the shooter Nightforce introduction, and then the last one is the most recent one, which was Roadblock.
Mark just held his hat up to the camera where Mark made a hat out of that logo from the Tom Reilly cover of issue, was it 19?
18, yeah.
18.
I think, yeah, 18. And so we got a nice recap of these are the kind of the key Nightforce points to today. And you know, while I'm here lingering on them, I'll just flick up that Tom Reilly did nice turnaround designs for all of these characters. So we've got Flint in his black t-shirt and shotgun, Lady J with her sort of javelin thing,
And not go back to Lady J. It's sort of a green, but it's like a dull aqua. It's not like bright 1985 green Lady J. Okay.
With orange accents actually on her pockets. Beachhead with his slightly updated design with kind of that tubing effect, etc. So many pouches. And Shooter as well, with this sort of very pared back black polo. So yeah, we're sort of introduced to the Nightforce team, and then we don't waste any time. We're in this introduced to this amazing splash page, which first speech bubble, Nightforce logo.
yeah. So the thing that I didn't think I was going to get. And let's talk. Can you zoom in on that for a second? That logo. Let's talk about this logo for a second. I don't know who designed the logo, but I'm going to guess it was Matt Lysak. Maybe it was Ron Rudat. I'm going to guess it was Matt Lysak, who was in charge of Hasbro's art department at the time. If it wasn't Matt Lysak, it was certainly one of the people in his art department. And what you have is the letters acting sort of as a wall or like mountains, and then this half circle above them, which is like the sun having gone down. And then these 7 sort of diamonds or triangles on the bottom, which are acting as sort of landscape in front of you, like sweeping away in a distance. Maybe also sort of implying like, wings of a bird. But what this logo is kind of doing is like, no, the sun is down and now it's nighttime. Now it's time for Nightforce. Okay. So on pages 2 and 3, so let me go back to one more statement about overall this comic book, right? It's oversized, 2 guys draw it. This is where I was hoping and expecting color artist Jordie Bellaire to come back to the series, because she colored Tom Reilly on his 3 previous arcs, the Duke miniseries, the first 5 or 6 issues, and then the Dreadnought War. And Lee Loughridge, who colored all the other Joe arcs and has been coloring Andrea Milana, and did the previous 3 issues, is sticking around now. And as revealed in our interview with Ben Abernathy, Jordie Bellaire is very busy and is welcome back anytime. So I take that to mean that Lee Loughridge is now the regular full color artist on G.I. Joe, not the regular alternating colorist on G.I. Joe. And while I'll be a little disappointed, because I thought that, did you catch Chachu issue number 1, which came out last week at comic book stores? This is written by, is it Iman Vellani? Who's the actress who plays Ms. Marvel on the Disney Plus show? So she co-wrote a Ms. Marvel miniseries a year ago and is now solo writing her first comic, which is this Image series that's like semi-autobiographical, but there's also some crime elements. And Jordie Bellaire is coloring it. And so even though I don't have Jordie Bellaire coloring G.I. Joe, I am getting a dose of Jordie Bellaire right now every month. Anyway, Lee Loughridge is a really good fit for Tom Reilly, as we already saw on issue 21. And while I like the more experimental and crazy things that Jordi Belair does, where a panel might be all like mint blue and like neon cantaloupe because someone's like firing their machine gun or something. It's like crazy blue, crazy orange. And Lee Loughridge's colors are more naturalistic. He is doing interesting things like this sort of old school 80s Nightforce color scheme on the first page, and then you turn the page and you've got this sunset, and then you get to the 2-page recap spread by Andrea Milana, where it's this like sort of rainbow where every panel is 2 different colors, like orangey, purpley, greeny, yellowy, bluey, and so on. So Lee Loughridge is thinking about colors, changing colors for each scene, reflecting emotion. Not as crazy as Jordi Belair, but very, very handsome work. And and not only do I want a good colorist, I want consistency. So I'm really happy that it's not like a different color artist every issue for the next 10 issues, but Lee Loughridge we've seen in catalogs coloring the next at least 3 issues. Okay. My other reaction to this opening spread is Shooter has a sniper rifle, and it feels like the staging here, if she's on a snake, do you just call it a snake if it's by itself? If it's not armored, do you call it a snake or a snake bot or freestanding snake, an autonomous snake, a snake? She's standing on one that's toppling over and she's shooting another one. And she is looking through her scope, and she is on G.I. Joe. So she's the best of the best of the best. But I do think of snipers as sort of Overwatch further away and in something that's stable, like the roof of a building, not in the middle of the battle, sort of right next to where Roadblock is shooting. So maybe for sort of quote realism's sake, she could have like a regular machine gun here and her sniper rifle could be slung over her shoulder. I'll also pretend that a little bit of this scene is like still sort of like fantasy or a montage, that these characters are being introduced, not exactly what's literally happening, but like, hey reader, this is Nightforce and we're catching up with the story in progress and they're taking out snakes.
Yeah. And maybe the objective of the mission, the training mission that they've been sent here, is they've got to move forward as a tight unit. And part of that is that she's got to be a little bit closer than they normally would be or whatever. But they talk about, this introduction sequence is all of the Nightforce against the snakes, and it feels a little bit like an echo of G.I. Joe issue number 1, where the other G.I. Joe team were sort of jumping out of an aircraft and with jetpacks and fighting against drones as their kind of test mission before they go into the field. A sort of a test that didn't go quite so successfully, and I think they call that out in this sequence as well. Beachhead says, didn't Hawk use baby drones to run drills on Duke's team and they still botched it? So there's a bit of rivalry here between the two teams that they've kind of established. But we are introduced to snakes. Where did the snakes come from? So they were seen in this series previously. So when back in Duke, I think this might be Duke, all the way back in Duke number 1, maybe, when Duke first sneaks into Mars, he does see some snakes being created by Mars Industries, and they allude to the fact that that's where they found these things, from the deserted Mars Industries. They also featured prominently in the back cover to John Boy Myers' Destro number 1 variant cover. And the design that we are seeing in the pages of G.I. Joe here is very much inspired by the sort of beefier, more greebleed up version of the snake armor from the G.I. Joe Classified series design. Lots of extra details and whatnot, whereas the battle armor snake from back in 1983 or so, from the O-ring era, was a little bit more, let's say, derpy, a little bit more charming, perhaps, let's say, a little bit more waddly, biddly, sure thing, Buck.
So the 80s toy, it's armor for a person. In the cartoon, I think they first show up in episode, I think it's 7 of G.I. Joe. Wait, no, it's episode 2.
Somewhere in the mass device. They've actually
Yeah.
just had recent leak of Super 7 having an O-ring snake as part of their Reaction Plus, inspired by that episode. By
in that animated episode, they're just robots. There aren't people in them. So are these is that classified toy? It's a snake robot. It's not battle armor snake, right?
It's sort of battle armor. That front bit opens up, and then there's room for someone to sit inside and kind of remote control. So it doesn't have the silhouette of a person with their legs. They're seated in the central torso bit.
Okay, fun.
Compartment.
All right. So
oh, and the other thing I was going to say about this sequence was that it echoes back to the first appearance of Flint and Lady J back in the original G.I. Joe. Is this 38 or so? It's the Tomax and Zaymot introduction issue, which opens up with Roadblock, Lady J, and Flint on a training mission against some Hiss tanks, which they take down with some help from Flint in a new experimental armadillo. So nice way, and sort of this is probably entirely coincidental, but the first time that we are introduced to Flint and Lady J back in the day in the 80s was also on this kind of training exercise against some decoy robotized things.
That's great. All right, so you want to go to the 2-page recap?
Right. So after this initial intro and training sequence, there's a 2-page recap, which basically takes us from Duke issue 1 all the way through to present day. And I almost thought to myself, could I literally spend a few hours on this page with little call out boxes talking to exactly which one, each one of these sequence, these frames or panels was referencing. But yeah, we've got Duke from the miniseries covering the top 3 panels where he's up against Destro and the Bat there. The Joe team coming together, their first time meeting Cobra Commander. Baroness and Covergirl up against Raptor and Major Blood. Then we've got the Dreadnoks in the desert and the Dreadnok War, covering 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Then we've got the key moments of Hound meeting Duke for the first time, meeting Optimus for the first time, their most recent mission in Badhikistan, where they meet Crystal Ball, taking us all the way through to the present day, with Crystal Ball being interrogated by Hawk and then having his throat cut. So a lot of recap on this page, and I think it's amazingly done.
Ben Abernathy lauded Andrea Milana's work here when we spoke to him in a previous episode. You might turn to this 2-page spread and think, well, this is all stuff I've seen, or, well, Andrea Milana just gets to redraw stuff that's already happened. To be able to, even though these moments are going to be called out in a script, to be able to, first of all, drawing a 9-panel grid, drawing 17 panels across 2 pages, that is more work than let's say go back to page 1 of this comic, right? Where you've got 4 panels and you've got all of Nightforce. It is just more work to draw more different things. And to be able to, even if you're referencing a cover or a panel from a previous comic, to be able to very quickly sort of crunch it down and then reconfigure it into this sort of vertical, taller than wider shape of each of these panels, that's going to take some mental effort and some drawing time. Greg Augustin says, love the crooked panel gutters. And then what Milana's also doing is he's capturing a lot of emotion here. And again, it's like, well, like that third panel, that's like redrawing Tom Reilly's cover to Duke #5. It's like, yes, that is. But just because someone drew it like 2 years ago doesn't mean redrawing it much smaller and fitting in this slightly different ratio of a shape is like fast or easy. Like you still got to make it work. The thing that actually jumps at me the most is the bottom left panel in all of this, where we're seeing Hound and Clutch from Duke's perspective, and Milana inks out shade puts Hound's face in shadow and also Clutch's, and that might just be sort of like literal. It's like, where's the light source, or where's there an explosion on that panel? But it's really subtle, because what Milana is doing here is he's showing this alien robot and Duke's friend, his best friend, or one of his best friends, as sort of other. Like you can't see their faces, and even the way that Hound is walking, it's sort of like 50s archetypical like stiff robot, and that is a choice. That's not like Milana had no time, he just drew Hound, because he could have drawn Hound like running or like firing his weapon just as energetically as any of the poses in the rest of this 2-page spread. And so there are a lot of subtle things, and there are a lot of decisions that Milana is making, which are adding a lot of sort of value, like emotional and story value to this, like fun, but like for Mark and me, unnecessary 2-page spread. But Skybound knows that people have fallen off the book, and maybe they'll come back because 25 is an anniversary issue, or Tom Reilly's back, or this is the big fight, or the dire tech crystal ball thing wasn't to their liking, but here's an issue you got it, and there are more variant covers. So this 2-page recap is really helpful. My final comment on this 2-page spread is I didn't know when I turned to it if I should read the left page first and then the right page, or if I should read the 5 panels across the top of the 2 pages first. And that is a small, like half a point off professional artist Andrea Milana, because whether it's like that third panel with Duke and the bat claw like going further across the fold past the staple, or like a much wider gutter sort of between everything on the left and everything on the right, I need another visual cue, short of numbering the panels. And it's not a big deal.
Give us something that just shows us this is 2 pages together, not one page.
Yes.
If it's divided quite down the middle, and that would get lost in the gutter down by the spine. So if there was just a little bit more bleed across between the 2 pages to show that this is one unit, that's a good shout, which I think is, if you're seeing a double page like this digitally, it's obvious, but if you're reading the physical object, then it's definitely room for a little bit of confusion.
Then you turn the page and Tom Reilly's back. Oh, wait.
Even down here, like I was going to say, you've got the crystal ball, getting us up to speed. Do we know? Is it clear who's narrating these panels? Is this Baroness narrating?
That's a good question. You know what? I'm embarrassed to say that I only half thought about this. And then I got distracted by the rest of the comic, and I sort of thought, I guess it's Flint, because he's like, all right, Nightforce, let's get Duke and his wimpy guys. But this does,
maybe we'll figure it out. But
or is it Hawk?
I don't know. It doesn't sound like. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll find it out.
Then you turn the page.
Oh dear! Look, error detected. Crystal ball.
Oh no! Skybound.
Systal ball. That's what this giant thing is here.
It's a cyst on his
this
eye.
Thing.
Not a big bruise.
It's It's his name is actual Systal Ball, but folks, some people confusingly call him Crystal Ball.
Folks, if you see me looking to the right while Mark's talking for the next few minutes, I'm writing an email to Skybound. Then you turn the page.
But this bottom right hand page, it's showing Crystal Ball's or Sister Ball's neck getting cut by Hawk, and the use of this sort of negative space. It kind of is suggesting mentally that this is a severe cut. His almost entire head is being taken off here by the cut. So suggesting, this is a severe mortal wound, and the amount of blood that is dripping out of him as Baroness walks in on him, and Hawktan says, "Baroness, yeah, I think this is the end of Crystal Ball, but it's comics, so never say never, I guess." Yeah, if anyone go on.
But suddenly, on this sort of reveal page with Baroness and Crystal Ball and Zartan, it's Tom Reilly. And I turned the page and I had this little like surge of joy, because I just love the sort of mix of tight and loose lines in how Tom Reilly draws faces, and which is different from the mixture of like taut and loose lines that Andre Milana draws for faces. But I'm just so jazzed to see Tom Reilly back, even though it was only 4 months ago that he drew issue 21. And then Williamson doesn't let an opportunity go by to without demonstrating that Baroness is a badass.
Mm-hmm.
So she on page what are we on? Is this now 8, 9? She catches the knife that's thrown at her.
Yeah, and so I wondered, seeing that cliffhanger last time, what's going to happen? What's going to be this dynamic? Hawk has, Baroness has walked in on Hawk, cutting Crystal Ball's throat. How is Hawk going to get out of this one? How is Baroness going to get set up? And it's a lovely sequence. She's just on the back foot. She's confused, and he throws the knife at her. She catches it, and thus incriminating herself, because she's leaving her DNA and fingerprints on this knife that has just been used to kill Crystal Ball. Yes, I think she's still in this place of what on earth is going on, and sort of reacting to defend herself, but really not knowing what the hell is going on with this. Her leader's killed a guy, he's attacking her, he's got this ripped eye with this weird reptilian kind of glow to it, and yeah, he's right on the mic, saying that red alert, Baroness is working with Cobra and has assassinated Crystal Ball. Don't let her escape. She says they'll see right through this, but I don't think she's quite willing to completely believe that they're going to take her side of the story, so has gone on the run. And we're introduced to, I guess, Zartan Hawk, thinking on his feet as well. He's searching the pockets of Crystal Ball, which you think might have happened by this point, but let's give it a pass. And he finds cool little. He
pulls out Crystal Ball's wallet and he's like, "I don't need currency from Badhikistan. I want American currency." Oh wait, no, it's Energon.
And what are these photos in the wallet? He's got 6 brothers and sisters, at least.
Right. Very good. But he actually pulls out.
He pulls out a vial of Energon, which he inserts into this sort of portable device, this face healing device that allows him to supercharge his disguise back to full capacity very quickly.
There are a couple comics and cartoon conventions that I just love. One is the giant turkey leg that sort of medieval characters might be eating, like in an episode of He-Man, if Skeletor or He-Man has a meal in front of them, I want a giant cartoon turkey leg. And if there's a scientist, I want Erlenmeyer flasks and beakers. And to have a beaker here, even with a cork top, or I guess it's a metal top. And it could have been in chip form. It could have been powderized and you tear off the top. It could have been a tiny cube, a solid cube. it could have been a pouch with some like little pebbles. But, you know, Tom Reilly and Joshua Williamson know that this wants to be a visual that we can see. So you wouldn't put it in a pouch because that's opaque. But just from the sort of archetype of it, like it's a vial, it's a glowing
Test
vial.
tube.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And speaking of comic tropes, the trope is, I guess, if your teammate is being set up, oftentimes it is very tropey that everyone is very quick to believe that they've gone bad and to hunt them down and to get into the scraps. And I like that they're not going in that direction, that the Joe team here are very much not quite wanting to believe that Baroness has gone bad and immediately sort of treat her like she's the enemy. They're kind of very sort of questioning of the whole thing. They're like, Stalker's here is slow down, Baroness, and Risk is, what the hell's going on? Hawk said you killed Crystal Ball, rather than them sort of immediately trying to grab her and take her in. She says, I'm being set up. They're like, let's keep our cool. Don't do anything crazy. Let's talk. And then we get onto this quite weird and wonderful third double page splash of the issue, which I'm sure we're going to want to talk about in digital format. I'm displaying it like this.
Okay, so
in the comic, it displays different.
Let me hear. Do you want to go full screen on me?
Yeah.
So I'll just demonstrate. So here you are. So she's running and she stops, and Stalker and Risk, and then Zartan fixes his face, and then Baroness says, I've always believed. And then you turn the page and you get to this. And so I sort of want to start here with the panel that says, actions speak louder than words, because that's on the top left. And I know that there is a convention in comic books. I'm not talking about the famous issue of Fantastic Four by John Byrne, which was sideways. I'm not talking about the Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane crossover with Spider-Man and X-Force, where the issues were sideways. I'm not talking about this week's new comic by Sean Murphy. Was it The Last Driver, which is printed sideways, like that X-Men annual was in 2001. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what I consider to be a very confusing convention in comics, where you're reading a comic normally, one page on the left, one page on the right, or a two-page splash across. And then you turn the page, and then now there's a two-page splash, and you have to turn the comic 90 degrees. I'm not talking about when Larry Hama has a story reason involving hypnosis in Nth Man, where you have to turn the comic book upside down. I'm talking about this strange and artificial decision that the artist makes in some comics. And this happened a lot in some Image and Marvel comics in the 90s. And it happened 2 weeks ago in a Marvel comic, much to my dismay. This was an Adam Kubert issue of Spider-Man, is it Long Way Home? The new miniseries by Kirk Hickman with Hulk and Punisher showing up. So I turn the page, and all of a sudden it's a two-page splash, and I just have to turn the comic sideways. And this might seem like a really small thing, folks. It's like, well, Tim, you're reading the comic, just read the comic. But I'm trying to sort of fall into the story space where the story is happening in my mind, and I'm not so aware of holding an object and my eyes are moving and my hands are turning the page. The story is just proceeding apace in my mind. The same way that when I'm watching a TV show or a movie, if someone walks in front of me, or if the microwave beeps and I get up and leave, that's an artificial thing that has changed the sort of pace and the unfolding of the story. And I don't like it when artists make me turn the comic sideways. I appreciate the experimental nature of this, Tom Reilly, and you can now go the sort of better way. If you want to flip that, Mark.
I think jumping ahead, I'm going to say that we both agree we like the experimental nature of what is being done here, but also we find
confusing.
Because where are we actually starting in the story? We're supposed to start with the panel where Stalker says, "Catch her." Where
No, we're not, Tim.
no, we're supposed right. Okay, we're supposed to start right. All right, I got mixed up again. We're supposed to okay. So Baroness starts a line of dialogue on the previous page at the end. She says, "I've always believed ...
Yep.
And so she needs to talk next. And so that's the panel here where she says actions speak louder than words, and she's lunging at us.
Yeah. And the convention of reading comics is that you start top left, which is on as printed on the page, Baroness, actions speak louder than words. And then you read across and then down. So it's like a bit like a typewriter. You're reading across, down and across, down and across. So on this printed page, you would typically be, reading maybe starting top left and then across to cover girl here, baby. But it's turned, so actually you wouldn't do that. So you're turning the book, and you're starting with the Baroness and you're reading across. And what's they're trying to achieve here is that she's on the basement, very bottom level floor of the pit, and she's making her way to the escape at the top of the pit.
At the surface, that she gets out.
At the surface, yeah.
And there's even... oh, good. All right, so Mark just put a second slide up where he added a green start circle on the bottom left and arrows going back and forth, like in Donkey Kong. Start on the bottom left, go right and up, and then left and then up, and then right and up. And then Mark has a red finish stamp on what is actually the top right panel. And behind those 4 panels on the top, there's actually a thin sort of light green blue line that looks kind of like the trail of dust that would be kicked up from a vehicle driving across that landscape because she gets away in a motorcycle. So, okay, what does this allude to? This alludes to every cross section we've seen of the pit in a Larry Hama G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero comic. So issue 1 all the way up to whenever the last one was, a couple years ago. And we haven't seen this pit depicted this way. So it's really fun, but we're not really seeing the different rooms, like the gym and the bedrooms or the target practice rooms or the armory or whatever. We're seeing these 4 very thick sort of levels, flooring levels. And then we do see that sort of above ground, what I thought was like a giant elevator for vehicles that pokes up above the landscape at the top of this page. And, Lee Loughridge does a nice job where the sky is like green and yellow, which I would never do. And it's totally awesome. And then all this inside colors are very orangey because it's this moment of panic, and it's not literally red alert, but that's the feeling. So there's this very distinct inside and outside color scheme. And then those 4, let's say concrete floor sections of the pit are a dark, dull blue-gray. So visually, this 2-page spread is a lot of fun. And I love the idea of you follow her going up, but it's confusing.
And I think you might be right. I think that that maybe we have got red lighting here for a red alert, that the color palette has changed once Hawk sort of initiates the alert. Baroness makes her way out on a sort of, looks a bit like a dirt bike. It looks like maybe it's red, and I'm not entirely sure if it's meant to be, but specifically referencing the Cobra coil vehicle that was released with the Baroness in her first classified release. It could be coincidental, or it could be that they are referencing that vehicle specifically. Right. And then the Joe team are just left at the top of the ramp, with a trail of dust from a literal trail of dust from the Baroness, and even Hound isn't able to find her. No Clutch. This Baroness is excellent at avoiding detection. Dang. Well, hopefully we're all wrong and she isn't on her way to Cobra's nest, where we have scene change back to Cobra and
back to Andrea Milana, who draws the next 4 pages.
And I'll flick to another slide. So this is the press briefing from Skybound announcing the debut of a new character, reminding us of this Cobra Valkyrie character that was introduced in the pages of 2021, who becomes Major Medusa, designed by Tom Reilly, unveiled at San Diego Comic-Con. And I was going to make a point here, sort of this issue and the particularly the flashbacks. It's real sort of long form storytelling and a lot of story built up from G.I. Joe issue number 1 through to 25, but also through the pages of all of those other miniseries that preceded it. And we've got, such sort of a confluence of things coming together, and juggling all of these different story points, but giving us a really nice conclusion, but also a sort of real sense of pace and urgency. We sort of saw the Valkyries initially in issue number 1, this iteration of the Valkyries in issue 21, sort of little glimpse post then with this surviving Valkyrie and her relationship with Cobra Commander, and the conclusion, I think it was just last issue, saying Cobra Commander saying that he had plans for her, and lo and behold, literally the next issue, she's been transformed into this new character. Tim.
And then some Vipers get sacrificed, which is a testament to this Cobra Commander's cruelty. Another wedge driven between this Cobra Commander and this Destro, because Destro thinks this Cobra Commander goes too far. Another, test example of the T for teen rating of this comic, because a Viper gets ripped in half at the waist and another Viper gets decapitated with some, I would call them medium explosions of blood. And I'm not saying this is bad or good. I'm just saying I recognize when a G.I. Joe comic has sort of more violence than we've seen in the past. And I'm also sort of always ready for G.I. Joe to get in trouble for violence, or maybe the word is action, because, in the 80s, the cartoon, there was a lot of criticism leveled against it. Over in the pages of A Real American Hero, most of the Vipers now are cyborgs, if not just Blue Ninja AI robots dressed up as various kinds of Vipers. So you might see the scene there, but over there, it's like, well, that's not a regular human. That's a sort of a super human. How do you feel, Mark, about this reveal, this first appearance of Major Medusa?
Well, I feel a few different things. Yeah. Cobra Commander calls it a success, not quite so much a success for the Vipers, but I guess a display of the prowess that they've not sat on this dire technology, that they've immediately sort of called it into action, and the destructive capabilities are definitely a success. And perhaps possibly the display is also in part for Destro here. He doesn't seem particularly happy about the whole situation, and I guess particularly because up to this point he's been pretty much Cobra Commander's right-hand man, and they've had this this head-on-head kind of relationship that Cobra is typically personified by disloyalty. And here we've got a real acolyte of Cobra Commander's by his literal right-hand side, sitting on his throne with him, who seems to display a tremendous amount of loyalty specifically to Cobra Commander. And so, yeah, this is probably a little bit of a threat for the disloyal Destro, who sort of has got his own schemes and plans. Oh, you're on mute. The reveal of Medusa, I was going to say as well, is also an interesting one, and I'm surprised almost we've not seen Medusa take a role in Cobra up to this point in terms of the mythology and the meaning of it all, given the amount of Cobra snake themed elements in the Cobra mythology, because Medusa is from Greek mythology, also called a gorgon. She's generally described or seen as a woman with living snakes in place of hair. Her appearance so hideous that anyone who looked at her would be turned into stone, and sometimes with a bit of a snake's tail as well in that depiction. So a real snake iconography icon who's not played a role in G.I. Joe mythology up to this point.
That is a good point. And then going back to your comment about Cobra Commander and Destro, when you turn the page, Cobra Commander puts a fine point on it. He says, "She is mine." And Destro, that's a lot of real estate. This quarter of a page, fifth of a page, this one whole panel just for a reaction shot on Destro. And I feel like if you're reading this comic, this might be sort of the panel that you gloss over the most, sort of by accident, because it's the end of a scene. The caption there belongs to the next scene. Destro's not saying anything, and he's just reacting to what we've all seen, and his reaction here is just sort of like, plussed from what he says on the previous page, which is, "Was this display necessary, Commander?" But he's actually shocked or horrified, because he's looking in and seeing all that carnage. He's seeing this, as you just said, this like new sort of number 2 or number 3 for Cobra Commander. I don't think Cobra Commander and Medusa's relationship is romantic or sexual. I don't think this Cobra Commander is romantic or sexual, but they are physically close on that panel, and Cobra Commander is putting his hand sort of on her waist. And I think a lot of G.I. Joe comics don't get into romance, but so if you want there to be that connection, it can be there, which just adds to sort of edging Destro out.
I wonder if there's some feelings perhaps on her coming from her side of the fence, and he sees that as a useful tool that he can exploit, perhaps.
I mean, Cobra Commander is a kind of cult leader in sort of all continuities. But I just want to say this again. I'm really struck by this face that Andrea Milana has drawn on Destro. His eyes are wide open, his eyebrows are up, and his mouth is open. Destro, who I don't think has been shocked much in these 2 years of comics, is genuinely shocked or upset at the sort of 3 things that are happening all at once here. He's not like lips closed, finger on chin, one eyebrow up. Like, what does this mean for me? He's shocked.
So back to the pit. It's the aftermath of Baroness's escape. Mercer there, still in captivity. A little reminder that he's there. Hawk is showing a single freeze frame. That's all I could recover, I'm afraid. Out of all of the material available, this was the only one that we could get from the system. He's sort of reaching the conclusion. If I hadn't got to my gun, there would be 2 dead in that room at her hands. But face facts, Baroness is a killer and a traitor. And they're not really buying it, are they? Their cover girl is, but why? Why would she blow her cover? It doesn't make any sense. And Stalker is arms crossed. Risk is looking away. clutch pensive, and Duke is all the way on the far side, quiet, stoic, and then comes the somewhat shocking moment from Hawk. He says, you do
more than that.
You do, yeah.
Kill her, kill Baroness. Then you turn the page, and when I turned the page, I thought, oh, Tom Reilly, what a break you've been given. You only have to draw I actually thought this. You only have to draw 3 panels, not 5 or 7. And you only have to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heads, or half heads. It's like this page is like a real sort of breather for Tom Reilly, who tends to, Energon Universe comics tend to pack a lot in on one page. This is sort of, I've made fun of the like Mark Millar final page of an issue of the Ultimates from like 2002, where it's just like a drawing of Captain America, and it's a Brian Hitch drawing, and it's his head and shoulders, and he's pointing to the A on his forehead, and he says, "You think this letter stands for France?" And Mark Millar, sort of the master of, or like the ruiner of, you take your pick, the like punctuated final page of a comic as a full splash page, which is something that, as a comparison, like never happened in a Real American Hero at Marvel. Final pages always had like 3 or 4 or 5 panels, and it was the final panel that would sort of set you up for the next issue or like punch you in the gut. And there's a version of this comic where you turn the page and it's just a full portrait, head and shoulders, of Hawk, who's actually Zartan, and he's saying, "Kill Baroness." And the reaction and the no happen on the next page. Or you could even go more egregious. It's like the next page is like the reaction, a full page, and then you turn the page again, and there's a full page of Duke saying no, and no one would do that. But I really like, I really like this. Zartan as Hawk is losing control, and he gets.
And they're not buying it either.
Yes, and Duke, who was the hothead in his miniseries and at the beginning of this series, knows that something is off. And just look at his body language on this. This is the page where the top page is all like, the top panel is all maroon, and Hawk is yelling at Duke, and their like foreheads are touching. But now go down to the 3rd tier. Look at Duke's body language. He's got his arms crossed, his head is down, he's leaning against the wall, and his like left foot is up against the wall. That's not someone who's like, gotta go lead a mission to execute our traitor. That's someone who's like, I don't know about this. And
Hawk threatens even that if Duke won't lead the team to go get Baroness, maybe the team needs a new leader, pointing at Risk and Stalker. And I don't think they're buying it either. There's some great body language from the whole cast of characters about how they're feeling about this whole situation.
So then you turn the page, and once again, Lee Loughridge has shifted the color scheme, right? Like, look at the Baroness's skin here. She's got a red wig. It's a disguise. Look at her skin. The actual colors, they're 2 colors. It's like light blue and sort of middle blue. And if you were to, just on white paper with no sense of day or emotion, daytime or emotion, color the Baroness, or like any Caucasian G.I. Joe character with blue skin, it's like, oh, is this Zartan? Is this the Zartan? And he's got hit by sunlight? It's like, no. This is one of these things that I can see and recognize. I can't do it. I can't pull this off. I can't look at that scene and think, oh, I know the pier behind Baroness should be like, what is that color? It's like a mustard with blue in it. It's like, what a cool, weird color. Anyway, I also love on the next page that the Baroness's wig is starting to come off. Where she says, change in plans. She's pulling it off, and she's taking the hat off. So there's this convention in the first like 2 years of the G.I. Joe cartoon, because Zartan would only pretend to be men, and Zorana didn't exist yet. And so several times, even in the first episode of G.I. Joe, there's a woman, and it's actually the Baroness in disguise. And I don't think this is not Joshua Williamson referring to the cartoon. This is just Baroness trying to make a getaway, and no one, change your body type or your clothing or your hair, and people don't know who you are. But I love that she's like in a costume here, but the costume is like vacationing rich person. And she gets on a yacht, which is a vacation for a rich person.
And look at the close-up of her luggage there. It looks like there's little TRs.
That's
so I
funny.
think that's little mini Tom Reilly signatures have made their way into the high couture.
That is so faintly
luggage.
printed in the comic, the paper version. You almost can't read it. That's funny.
I wonder, because Tom shared on his Instagram this page, and it did make me wonder to what extent this exists as a physical ink on board versus digital. Whether he's been taking any sort of speeding up the processes, doing things digitally. I think certainly the grey tones and the sort of monograms on the luggage probably are digital. But I do wonder. If there is physical ink on the page versions of some of these pages. So Baroness is on the boat. There's a sniper who has shot the gun out of her hand, so not shooting to kill. There are her crewmen are on the floor of the boat.
They're tied up. They're not dead. Yeah. They're knocked out and tied up, but there aren't like pools of blood or like torn clothing with bullet holes.
Yeah, there's this one guy has got some blood on his head and his shirt, but I'm reading that as being some blood from a bonk to the head rather than a gunshot, and he does have, they've got like zip tied hands, and you wouldn't need to do that to a corpse. So they have taken out these crew members, but not with extreme prejudice. So gun to the shot to the hand, and then in comes Lady J with her electro staff thing, which the Baroness recognizes from the pages of Energon Universe 2024 special, which is where the Baroness was first recruited into G.I. Joe by Duke, but it was a setup by these strangely costumed characters, one of whom had a kind of an electro staff, which at the end of the issue, after the reveal of Baroness in her new Joe costume, we find out was Flint and Lady J as the first members of Nightforce reporting into Hawk. Or is it Hawk? So back to the pages of G.I. Joe.
And then we see another Nightforce vehicle. Right? We saw the Skyhawk, which I think for Nightforce was the Nighthawk, on page 1 of this issue, panel 1. And then here on, I don't know what page this is, 25 or so, we see the whale, which was which everyone calls the killer whale, which I guess is technically the actual name, but anyway, when this toy was re-released a year or two later at Toys R Us as part of Nightforce, it was called the Night Striker, not the Night Whale. And Mark has put on screen a picture of the original box, which has members of Nightforce, right, in this beautiful painting.
Credit, as always, to the amazing 3djoes.com. Thank you.
Yes. So this painting, Hector Garrido would have done the original. It's possible that Garrido did the rework to turn the original painting into the Nightforce version. It's also possible that Doug Hart did that work or someone else. But I just got to tell you, folks, if you are younger than Mark and I, it was very cool. I'm like, there's no reason why the Joes would like have a special team. My brother said this to me in like 1988. There's no reason why the Joes would have a special team to go on missions at night, because like 2/3 of all their missions are just going to be at night anyway. And realistically, they'd probably put on darker clothes and like tiger stripes on their face, if not like full makeup or like masks the way that Beachhead has. But if you're going to have a guy in like neon green who like wages psychological warfare, and a guy in like a sailor blue outfit with a parrot, you might as well also just make it a toyetic subline and make everything black and dark brown and stuff. So it was very fun to have Hasbro give us a second chance at getting some toys and alternate color schemes, and in one or two cases, better color schemes.
And look at the color of the missiles on the Night Striker on this toy / box art, and compare it to the color of the missiles on this whale that Shooter and Roadblock are in. So
yes.
yeah, there's definite hints of a night of a Night Striker.
So this, yes, it might not actually be black. The way that it's colored and inked, it might be green or gray, but emotionally it is a black repaint of a G.I. Joe vehicle. And then on the next page, we got a 9-panel grid for this. It's not a fight, it's a talk.
Yeah, again, it's thwarting your expectations. It's not an immediate it's a massive trope. There's some sort of confusion which leads our two sets of heroes to fight before blah blah blah.
That is what the cover promised.
Yeah. Here it's a talk, and we're not seeing any fighting at all on this 9-panel page. It is very much a talk, and Baroness is trying to convince them there's something weird about Hawk. He wasn't himself. I think we're all being played, but they're not necessarily disagreeing. Lady J says, "Let us bring you in for interrogation at least." I think Baroness has got experience of how interrogation from Hawk has gone, having walked on him, interrogating the last guy and having his throat slit. So I don't think she's in any hurry to get back in an interrogation room. And I think there's probably a suggestion here that in some form or another, the Nightforce team are also thinking there's something weird about Hawk, because they've probably been sent on a mission here to assassinate the Baroness rather than capture her, and they're like, well, that doesn't feel like a very above the board way of behaving, or particularly legal, and what's she done, what blah blah blah. So I think they're slightly curious as to what this whole situation is, and not going in with full guns blazing. Before there is any sort of conflict,
right?
Here's our real American hero ready to make the conflict happen.
Duke flies in with a jetpack. Didn't we see jetpacks at the beginning of issue 1?
That's right. Yeah, in that aerial training mission.
G.I. Joe jetpacks are not realistic, but we have never seen enough of them. Right? The cartoon, the comic, the toy. More Joes should have more jetpacks and should use them more often. There, I've said it. This scene is raining, and it just adds to the feeling of, this whole scene is at night because Nightforce, and it's all the backgrounds are blue because of the water or the sky, and then just to give some atmosphere, just to make everything sort of more dour and unhappy. Like, this scene would feel different if it was at sunrise. So
again, sort of tropes. Sunrise is more of an optimistic time, maybe the end of a mission and everyone's feeling a bit more hopeful. But again, sort of, we're not going straight into a fight, and Stalker, who seems to be a very connected guy, he knows a lot of guys, including this one guy who taught him some ninja moves once upon a time. And he says, "I know you, Flint," and recognizes Lady J, Shooter, Beachhead, Roadblock. Black Ops, you don't mind getting your hands dirty. We did see Beachhead shoot a couple of guys when he came up from the sand in his first mission. But at the end of the day, you're good soldiers. They talk about the fact that they've got these orders to take out Baroness. And you pick it up from here. Yeah.
I also love that Williamson is sort of inventing some new connections that have always been there, and then alluding to some. So, when we go back to the previous page, 2 panels after Duke swoops in front of the Baroness, she says, "How do you find me so fast?" And he says, "CoverGirl said you told her about your yacht." That's really funny. And I don't remember the scene in Paris with Raptor and Baroness's parents where CoverGirl and she sort of become friends. I don't think a yacht got mentioned, but there's plenty of time on the way there, during, and the way back, if not, at the pit, way after, for them to have that kind of conversation. And so I really appreciate that Williamson adds just a little bit to this friendship or relationship between Baroness and CoverGirl, but also this word balloon is funny. CoverGirl said you told her about your yacht. That's really funny in this. It's not a laugh out loud joke, and it's a nice moment of humor that is a real contrast from the Flint kind of freaking out in the panel before, where he draws this shotgun on Duke because Duke's now in the way of his target. So just as a page later, Williamson has these connections, right? Stalker knows Flint. He recognizes his other characters. Williamson's keeping track of who knows who, sort of maybe who gets along, maybe who doesn't. And then, Mark has mentioned now, it's like, they're not fighting. They're going to fight. I think that's a third of the next issue. But Williamson wants to build up the stakes. It's not enough if it's just the Baroness versus Nightforce or Duke and Baroness versus the Nightforce. We want more Joes and the alien robot who's on the G.I. Joe team. And so Hound shows up. And this is also a nice bit of just sort of to establish and reestablish, right? There's a mansion or a beach house, whatever it is. And then in front of it is a dock with a boat, a yacht. And now we're just on the yacht. And we sort of lose our sense of where the yacht is because Tom Reilly draws like 2 or 3 pages of close-ups, very small panels with not a lot of background. It's just the sky or some water. But then you turn the page, and now we're on page 28. On page 28, Hound is driving up, and you see some of that house, right? It's not like a panel with no background and a bunch of speed lines. Like, where that house is, and where that house is in relation to the yacht, because there's one of those little lawn lights and then a bit of the sidewalk or whatever it is. And then in the next panel, Hound drives from the ground to the water. And then we see Hound in relation to the yacht when Baroness jumps into his hands. And then once again, Williamson's having fun in this moment of stress and tension. These teams are about to fight, and the Baroness jumps and she says, "This is a bad idea."
Beachhead's got a very beachheady expression here. What in Sam Hill? Hawk didn't mention no cars that could change into a giant robot. We're supposed to take that thing out too? So we get a sense that they know quite a lot about the other G.I. Joe team, but not absolutely everything. So they've been kept in the dark specifically about Hound, even if they have been told the detail of their drone training from issue 1 and that kind of thing. But the Joe team have upped the ante with their kind of nuclear option being Hound. But the Nightforce team have got something up their sleeve as well, activating one of their surprises.
Can you, before we talk about the surprise, can you just zoom in? We're on the second to last page, folks, 29. Can you zoom in, Mark, on this panel with Flint here where he says not at all?
Not at all. Okay.
I know I've said this before. I just want to say it again. Tom Reilly is drawing both realistically and also in a cartoony way, and I love it. Look at how much he's reduced Flint's face here. Like, sure, there are 3 lines under his eye, and there are 3 lines sort of under his lip, and there are 3 lines next to his eyebrow, and there's 3 lines on his ear. But like, these are very precise lines that are describing a great deal of dimensional form and anatomy with a lot of personality. Like, look at that cocky smile and that cocked eyebrow, but then his eyes are closed. And it's not because like literally his eyes are closed in the moment. It's like this convention where like Captain Marvel Shazam, his eyes are always closed, or like Dick Tracy, his eyes are always closed, because that's just how you draw that eye. Like this, and Reilly does this a little bit all over the place, and then now and then a lot in one place. So this is a very like Alex Toth, Chris Somney panel, and then like Flint now has the upper hand. Okay, you can go back to the full page. Mark, what did you think the reveal might be? What was the drone going to do or deposit?
Did not know. I did not think ahead to it, and I'm glad I was surprised because I hadn't guessed up until this point, and I didn't have anything spoilt for me. So because there had been a spoiler, one of these black spoiler covers for G.I. Joe issue number 26. So the person that is revealed, or the character that is revealed in the next page, hadn't been spoilt via the covers up until that point. So yeah, I was in the dark and surprised and somewhat delighted to see the newest member of Nightforce, G.I. Bat.
Okay, so we should remind listeners, viewers, that just as Duke has a traumatic relationship with Starscream, Duke has met Bats before, and it's the cover of Duke issue 5, right? Duke is leaning forward.
That we had an
Andrea Milana redraw of earlier in this issue. But that cover, that's the one with the red background where you're looking at Duke through the negative space of a bat's sort of round claw hand. And Duke's, I think, got his Dukes up. And so I don't remember how that battle went, but Duke spent an issue or two fighting bats, and they're pretty tough.
And I think they are implying that bat from Duke issue number 4 or 5 is the same bat that was the one that was crated up and captured by Beachhead in issue number 7, and is this same bat here. Okay.
So tell me, is this an alternate head on a classified bat toy, or is this a new Tom Reilly thing?
They have played with alternate heads in classified design, but I think this is a brand new Tom Reilly design of the bats, of G.I. Bat.
So folks, if you're wondering what this bat head looks like, it looks a little bit like 1985 Transformers Autobot Warpath's head, where there's a space for his eyes and his nose, although here it's a visor. And then there's sort of like the three shapes of the like bottom half of the face jaw. Like Optimus Prime has a faceplate with 2 sides, and this is sort of a faceplate with 3 sides, a front, a left angling back, and a right angling back. And Lee Loughridge does something very cool and smart here, right? You've got this pale blue background and this pale blue bats. And how does he separate them? The smoke between them is like pale pink, right? So warm and cool, warm and cool. And then Duke on the bottom has a lot of green in him, right? Like, well, Tim, his pants are green. Yeah. His shirt is green. His hair is green. Okay, so, and then another question, Mark, is from the neck down, is anything about this bat an allusion to classified? Do they have a different chest plate? Do they not have like black jumpsuits?
I think it's broadly sort of bat shaped, and the very first bat's classified figure sort of had a black covering to its chest armor, so it didn't have like the lenticular kind of sticker on fully kind of on display. You could take it off, and then there'd be some plastic kind of retro sort of themed sort of bat wire colors. So it's, I guess, that sort of opaque covering somewhat calls to that. And I think a lot of the shape looks very familiar. And there has been sort of camouflaged versions of the bat before. There was a jungle bat that was very cool in sort of camo greens. But yeah, having it as a kind of a Joe, having the Joes capture a bat, reprogram it, and have it on their side, I think is a new concept.
Yeah.
And in this universe, you've got a lot of issues of friendly fire from the bats, so they haven't fully kind of resolved the issue of how to have the bats properly usable without them sort of turning on their own sort of teammates. So I guess they have kind of done something with the programming of this bat. And I think there's a suggestion of a little aerial on its head as well, sort of sticking up.
Oh, a little antenna.
And yeah, an antennae.
Okay, so
let's look at this bat.
As a final page, I thought this reveal was really fun. And I don't love this costume. I know that Tom Reilly's costumes are often elegant in their simplicity, like Shooter, that design you put up, like turtleneck, pants. And this definitely looks like a bat. I want it to be, I just want the jumpsuit, something in the shirt or the pants. I just want two more things going on. I want like a different color for the top and bottom, or the camo to be more distinct, or not like pouches, but I just want something. It just sort of looks like, I can't quite tell what the base color is because of the time of day and Lee Loughridge's styling, but I'll say gray ? But
I think we've already got one other image at the moment of the GI Bat, which is the John Boy Myers cover to the next issue number 26.
Okay.
So he's looking a little bit more batty.
Yeah, black.
He's looking a bit more
black jumpsuit and black sort of head piece. Okay. Picking up an all striker. All right. So I thought this was a fun final page. I thought this was so one of the things, this is where so Mark has prepared a couple slides reminding us of other characters in other comics publishing that are soldier robots. So Mark, what do you have for us first? This
so
looks
we've
like
got probably the more famous one. It's GI robots, who people will be familiar with from the what is it called? Creature Commandos cartoon from the sort of latest crop of DC animated universe, overseen by James Gunn.
But this is a character from the 60s.
Yeah, this is a DC character from like the 60s, like Weird World War comics, that kind of thing. That's the way it was introduced. And then in more recent years as well, we've got another sort of robot military character, which is...
I think the term you're looking for is unabashed ripoff, where Jeff Johns and Gary Frank have just taken GI Robot and put it into their Geiger Mad Ghost unnamed universe. Barking Fridge in the comments says there were Joe robots in the Operation Blackout video game. They did not look like bats. And then I'm reminded there was a New 52 series from DC that was drawn by Scott Hampton, and I think written by Justin Gray, and the cover for the first issue was by Darwin Cook. GI Zombie. Okay, so one of the things, getting back to the final page of this issue of G.I. Joe, one of the things is that Williamson is playing with is factions, right? That's not just Joe versus Cobra or Joe versus Cobra and Iron Grenadiers, that the Dreadnoks really are their own faction, that Crystal Ball and his Energon tech was sort of its own faction. And, you have Cobra Law, whatever that means, and, Autobots and Decepticons, and G.I. Joe gets divided because there's Joe and Nightforce. And then Williamson is playing sort of at a further level with sort of your expectations of who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, and who changes over time. And so, the big example is the Baroness, who starts as a bad guy, but very quickly becomes a good guy, and has now been a good guy for like 2 years. And similarly, here we have a Cobra Bat, which is now some kind of G.I. Joe bat. How long it'll last before someone shoots it, or before it goes haywire and it's just an evil robot, we don't know. But this continues to be the fun of the Energon universe, that Williamson is playing with these expectations, but not just doing it for shock value or keeping you guessing, but doing it in inventive and satisfying ways. Little Miss Unicorn 9 says, this might sound weird, but I wonder if G.I. Bat is going to be the gateway to Mainframe, the character, in the Energon universe, like him being the creator of the G.I. Bat, or at least made the pattern for the Bat. Yes, I think there is some room to have any of the sort of computer or tech Joes sort of part of Nightforce, having always been part of Nightforce, but we didn't know about it until later. Yeah, because who in Nightforce who do we know who is in Nightforce besides like unnamed techs that Hawk, who's really Zartan, is in charge of, could reprogram the Bat? Because that's, if you know how to fix a Jeep, you don't know how to reprogram a killer robot.
Final thought that I just hadn't sort of referred to earlier, but haven't said out yet loud since, was who was doing the narration of that flashback. Well, given that it was sort of typed out and in a different font to how everything else looked, and it was in the third point, I think it was probably Flag, or possibly the captured Hawk. But yeah, my best guess is that was Flag from some typed out official records describing the current events, unseen off panel. But yeah, he was actually specifically referred to in the San Diego panel as being a key character, as forming part of a glue, sort of joining the different books together. So yeah, there we go. Good issue. Was there anything from the letters pages or anything that you wanted to specifically call out there?
No. We've gone long, so we can wrap up faster.
Very long. Yeah. So coming up in Energon Universe next week will be Void Rivals 33. We'll see more of Rom in the Energon Universe, and also continuing Pythaina's story there. Mask will continue. I wonder if we'll see much more of that Baron Kaza story continuing in issue number 4. Transformers also moving at breakneck speed there. Will we see more from Cobra La? I expect we probably will. And then G.I. Joe issue number 26 is looking very exciting as well. So 1 month away, and then we'll see G.I. Joe issue number 26, September 16th, 2026. Round 2, G.I. Joe and Nightforce won't back down. The epic battle between the two teams takes a dangerous turn as a new Joe enters the fight. We now know who that is. Can Baroness's secret mission stop the war? Cool. I look forward to it. So I think we are pretty much done. There was a question in the comments that I wanted to just address. Johnny B76. I wonder if there's 75 Johnny B's also in the comments. He asks, guys, do you know why Baroness is on Joe's side? I haven't started Void Rivals, Transformers, G.I. Joe, or Mars yet. So good place to start with G.I. Joe issue number 25. This is, like, as I say, sort of like a building point to lots that have come from this point before. The best place probably is to start with the mini-series. So there was Duke, a 5-issue mini-series, and then Cobra Commander, a 5-issue mini-series, followed by Destro and Scarlet, and then G.I. Joe started with issue 1 and has taken us through to issue 26. So in terms of the main meat of the G.I. Joe story, there's those 4 miniseries and then 26 issues. They're captured in trade paperbacks. Collecting.
To answer the question, Duke wins her over.
Yes. So Duke meets her and wins her over and onto the team, and she has never in this universe actually been part of Cobra. So the Baroness story specifically, Baroness meets Duke. And they become friends-ish, and then they join up and team up and on the same team. But yeah, just go back, check out the story. There's a number of trade paperbacks collecting the 4 miniseries, and then the G.I. Joe series 6 issues at a time. There's also some lovely hardcovers The first two are called Codename G.I. Joe, collecting the miniseries. And then there's a recently released G.I. Joe book 1, which collects, I think, the first 12 issues of the G.I. Joe series as well. So if you were to buy just those 3 hardcovers, you'd be getting pretty far along your journey. It is part of a wider Energon universe, so it does help to sort of dip into those to see the wider story, but it is not essential. You can read just the G.I. Joe components on their own, but the other bits of the Energon story being told in the other books give it a more interesting and fulfilling wider universe. Tim, where can you be found when you're not talking to me about G.I. Joe?
YouTube channel, Atomic Abe, comic book store, Hub Comics, blog, arealamericanbook.com.
Very good. And if you're new to Talking Joe, you can find us at talkingjoe.co.uk. That's the website that links you to all the places we can be found, such as our Facebook page. And while we're talking about things, make sure that you've liked and subscribed to Talking Joe, and so that you can be notified when we're doing all of these things. The website also points you towards patreon.com/talkingjoe, where the likes of Richard, Sam, Christopher, Shane, Simon, Joe, Craig, D, Shane, V2, this one was a reprogrammed robot all along. Patrick, Infinite Entertainment, Gary V, Coldroff, B, Squishy, Matt, Edgy B, and Jonathan. They are getting early access and exclusive content and a warm glow in their hearts for keeping the lights on this here enterprise. Phew. So I think, Tim, we are done. But before we go, was there anything else that you just wanted to end on?
Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
That was it. Laters.
And now you don't know, because not knowing loses half the battle.